All right, listener, get ready for a deep dive.
A deep dive that's a bit different.
Different.
We're tackling a collection of notes, and it's, well, it looks like a whirlwind tour of college prep essentials.
Okay.
Everything from learning styles and procrastination to search engines and something called schemas.
Wow.
It's like someone crammed an entire semester's worth of wisdom onto a handful of index cards.
Yeah, it really is like looking into the mind of a super student, right?
Exactly. And what's so intriguing is it seems to capture the essence of navigating academic life.
And beyond, and beyond.
Yeah.
Looking at these notes, I'm feeling a bit nostalgic, all those late night study sessions.
Yeah.
But beyond that trip down memory lane, I'm really curious to see how these different concepts connect
Me
to
too.
paint a bigger picture of effective learning.
Absolutely. And I think a great place to start is learning styles.
Right. The visual, auditory, kinesthetic, the classic trio.
Yeah.
I remember those quizzes in high school,
Oh, yeah.
trying to put you in a box. But do people really fit neatly into those boxes?
Well, it's more nuanced than that.
I figured.
They provide a good framework, but most of us are a blend of styles, with maybe one or two dominating.
Right.
The key is recognizing our own preferences.
Like if you're a visual learner.
You might love diagrams and mind maps,
Totally. And if you're auditory?
lectures and discussions all the way.
Yeah, for sure. I'm remembering those boring lectures in college.
Uh-oh.
The professor just reading off the slides.
Yeah.
I would always end up doodling.
Or daydreaming.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's a sign you lean towards visual or kinesthetic learning.
Huh, maybe.
If you learn best through hands-on experiences,
Right.
you'd probably struggle in those passive lectures.
Wow, that's a light bulb moment for me.
Really?
It explains why I always did so well in lab sessions.
Oh, interesting.
Where I could really get my hands dirty.
Yeah, where you could interact with the concepts.
Exactly. But knowing your learning style is one thing.
Right.
How do you actually use that knowledge?
That's the real power.
To be a better learner.
Right.
To enhance your study habits.
Yeah, so imagine a student who discovers they're a kinesthetic learner.
Okay.
They might study while walking.
While walking.
Yeah, or use flashcards with physical actions.
Okay.
Or even create 3D models to understand abstract concepts.
Wow. So it's like tailoring your study environment to match your brain.
Exactly.
It makes me wonder if classrooms could be revolutionized.
Yeah.
By incorporating more activities that cater to those different learning styles.
For sure.
But, before we transform education systems,
Okay.
let's talk about something a bit more universal.
Something that we all struggle with.
Yeah, procrastination.
Oh, procrastination. The classic struggle.
These notes, they really capture it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like they knew exactly what I was thinking back then.
It's described here as the act of delaying tasks.
Even though there will be negative consequences.
Exactly.
Fueled by those digital distractions.
Yeah, those are irresistible.
Tell me about it. I've lost so many hours to social media.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing I had a deadline looming.
We've all been there.
But do these notes offer any strategies for overcoming procrastination?
They do. They actually highlight a tool called the to-do matrix.
The to-do matrix. Oh.
It's a framework for prioritizing tasks
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
based on their urgency and importance.
Isn't that just another to-do list?
No, it's more of a decision-making tool.
Oh, okay.
So you categorize tasks into 4 quadrants:
Okay.
urgent and important.
Got it.
Important but not urgent.
Okay.
Urgent but not important.
Huh.
And neither urgent nor important.
That makes sense.
So you can focus your energy on the most crucial tasks first.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a mountain of tasks
Exactly. Yeah.
and avoiding that last-minute scramble.
Right. And all the stress that comes with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of academic anxieties, I see something here about something called MTU.
MTU.
It looks like it's ripped from a university prospectus.
It might be a specific university mentioned in the notes.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is the distinction between open access programs.
Open access.
Yeah. Anyone with a high school diploma can enroll.
Oh, wow.
And regulated access programs, which have additional requirements like entrance exams.
So even within one institution.
There are different pathways to higher education.
It's interesting. It makes me think about the debate around standardized testing.
Right, and college admissions.
Exactly.
And this choice between open access and regulated access,
Yeah.
it often reflects the demands of specific fields,
Like what?
like engineering and medicine.
They're mentioned in the notes.
Yeah, they often require a more rigorous vetting process.
Right, to make sure students have the foundational knowledge.
Yeah, you wouldn't want someone performing brain surgery?
If they hadn't passed their anatomy exams.
Exactly.
But it raises questions about accessibility.
Yeah.
And those standardized tests as barriers for some students.
It's definitely a complex issue.
No easy answers.
No.
But, with so many paths to knowledge.
There's so much information bombarding us.
Yeah. How do we even find what we need in this digital age?
That's a great question.
Thankfully, our note taker seems to have thought of that.
Oh, good.
They've provided a guide to search engines.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Information retrieval, that is essential these days.
It's true. We take it for granted.
We do.
So the notes, they break down different search strategies.
Okay.
Starting with the basic simple search for general information.
Yeah, just type in a few keywords.
The good old Google search.
Exactly.
But they also mention something called advanced search.
Oh, advanced search.
What's that all about?
It's a way to refine your search.
To get better results.
More targeted results, yeah.
So how do you do that?
Well, you can use filters, Boolean operators like AND/OR,
Oh, right. Boolean search?
and you can even specify the type of file you want.
Wow, it's like a secret decoder ring for the internet.
It is. It's powerful stuff.
I remember being blown away when I first discovered Boolean search.
Me too.
It changed everything. But it's not just about finding information, is it?
It's about choosing what to consume.
And retain.
Exactly.
What they call information selection.
You got it.
Making sure the information is actually relevant
Valid.
and accurate.
It's so important.
Especially now with all the misinformation out there.
Yeah, the notes really emphasize that. Retaining only what's relevant.
It's like curating your own mind.
Choosing the exhibits that will shape your understanding.
I like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of mental frameworks,
Yes.
there's a section here on schemas
Oh, schemas. Fascinating stuff.
and how they connect to learning styles and note-taking,
Schemas are mental models.
like frameworks.
Oh, that help us make sense of information.
So they're like mental filing cabinets.
Yeah, great analogy.
We categorize new information based on what we already know.
Exactly. And different learning styles might influence how we build those schemas.
That's interesting.
Yeah, a visual learner might have image-based schemas.
While an auditory learner might rely on sounds and words,
Right. And the note-taking techniques mentioned.
like Cornell notes and mind mapping.
They help us reinforce those mental structures.
So it's all connected.
It is. It's amazing.
How learning styles, schemas, note-taking,
Yeah.
all work together to shape our understanding.
Yeah, it really is.
This is making my head spin a little bit.
I know. It's a lot to take in.
Let's take a break and let these insights sink in.
Okay.
We'll be right back with more from these college prep notes.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back, listener. I'm still thinking about those schemas.
Yeah, the mental filing cabinets.
Fascinating stuff.
It is, yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and focus on a skill these notes emphasize. Paraphrasing.
Oh, paraphrasing. Interesting.
It seems pretty straightforward,
It does, yeah.
but there's more to it than meets the eye.
Right. It's not just about swapping out a few words
It's about really understanding the idea.
and expressing it in your own voice,
Yeah, these notes mention different techniques.
like using synonyms,
Right, or changing the word order.
even switching from active to passive voice,
It's like that game Telephone.
where you whisper a phrase around a circle.
Yeah, and it changes by the end,
But with paraphrasing, you want to keep the meaning intact.
while making the language your own.
Exactly.
And that process of playing with language
Yeah.
can actually deepen our understanding
It forces you to engage with the material,
on a different level.
yeah, a more analytical level.
So it's not just about avoiding plagiarism.
Right.
It's about making meaning.
It is.
Okay, so once we've processed the information,
Yeah.
how do we make sure it sticks?
The age-old question of memory.
These notes seem to offer a deep dive into that.
They do. They highlight the 3 key stages.
Encoding, storage, and retrieval.
You got it.
Encoding, that's like taking a mental snapshot,
Yeah. Converting information into a format our brains can store.
like hitting the save button on a computer file.
Exactly. And then comes storage.
Where does the information go?
Our brains have different types of memory,
Like short-term memory
which holds information temporarily
and long-term memory.
with a much larger capacity.
Okay, so short-term memory is like your computer's RAM.
And long-term memory is the hard drive.
But what about when we can't access the information we've stored?
Like having a file in your computer but not being able to find it.
Exactly.
That's where retrieval comes in.
The process of accessing stored information.
Right, and it can be tricky.
Sometimes you just can't remember something.
And then a smell or a song triggers a memory.
Like unlocking a hidden compartment in your mind.
Retrieval cues, they can be powerful.
They can.
But these notes also mention something called cognitive processing.
Cognitive processing, what's that?
It's about actively manipulating mental representations.
Transforming them into different formats.
Exactly. Visual, auditory, semantic.
So it's not just passively storing information.
Right. You're engaging with it.
Making it more meaningful.
And more memorable.
Like adding spices and flavor to those mental files.
I like that analogy.
And speaking of mental frameworks,
Yeah.
we're back to schemas.
They're everywhere.
It seems like they're crucial for memory and learning.
They provide context.
So when we learn something new,
Our brains try to fit it into existing schemas.
if it fits, great.
Easy to encode and store.
But if it doesn't,
We might need to modify our schemas.
or create new ones,
Exactly.
like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole,
And learning often involves expanding those schemas.
building a more nuanced understanding of the world.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've covered memory, schemas, paraphrasing,
All key elements of learning.
but these notes also touch on research,
They do.
highlighting the difference between deductive and inductive reasoning.
The two pillars of knowledge creation.
So deductive reasoning,
Starts with a general principle,
and applies it to specific cases,
while inductive reasoning
starts with specific observations.
and builds towards general conclusions.
It's like two different paths leading to the same mountaintop.
I like that.
Deductive reasoning starts at the peak.
And works its way down
Inductive reasoning starts at the base.
and climbs up.
And both are essential for research.
Absolutely.
Deductive reasoning tests existing theories,
While inductive reasoning generates new hypotheses,
like those science experiments.
where researchers start with a hypothesis
That's deductive.
and then design experiments to collect data,
Inductive,
and the results inform the hypothesis.
leading to new avenues of inquiry.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is, but these notes also emphasize critical thinking in research.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about applying methods blindly.
You have to evaluate the evidence.
Consider different perspectives.
Be open to revising your conclusions.
So it's about intellectual honesty.
And rigor.
Research isn't just about finding answers,
It's about asking the right questions.
embracing uncertainty.
And being okay with being wrong sometimes.
Wow, this is making me rethink my whole approach to research.
It's a journey, not a
It's a
destination.
journey of exploration.
And discovery.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from memory to schemas to research methods.
And it all came from these college prep notes.
It's amazing what you can find in unexpected places.
It is, and by connecting these concepts
We're starting to see the bigger picture of how we learn.
and how we think.
It's fascinating stuff.
Welcome back, listener. It's amazing how much we've uncovered just by looking at these college prep notes.
I know, it's like a mental treasure hunt.
It is, but before we wrap up,
Yeah.
there's one note I keep coming back to.
Mhm.
It just says, Ahmad is an auditory learner.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Does that tie into anything we've been discussing?
It might seem random,
It does.
but I think it reminds us that even with these big concepts,
Like research methods.
we have to remember individual learning styles.
Right, so if Ahmad is an auditory learner
He might learn best by hearing examples.
of deductive and inductive reasoning,
Yeah, or by discussing different research approaches.
it's like a little nudge to say learning isn't one size fits all.
We need to adapt our approaches.
For each person.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of tailoring our approaches,
Okay.
I see a section here on home libraries.
Home libraries. Interesting.
Is this just nostalgia for those old bookshelves?
It could be.
Or is there something more to it?
I think it highlights the importance of personal libraries.
Especially for humanities and social sciences.
Yeah, those fields where you're diving deep into specific topics.
So it's like a scholar surrounded by stacks of books,
Lost in thought.
connecting ideas across centuries.
Yeah, beautiful image.
But are personal libraries still relevant today?
With digital resources, you mean?
Exactly.
I think they still offer something unique.
What, like a curated collection?
Yeah, reflecting the owner's interests and expertise.
And for those who love physical books,
A tactile experience.
there's nothing quite like it.
There isn't.
But these notes also mention documentary and multimedia resources.
Oh, so it's not just about books.
Our note-taker was embracing a multifaceted approach.
It seems so.
Modern research goes beyond just text.
Right. It includes photos, films, recordings.
Even artifacts?
Those multimedia resources can add so much context
And bring research to life.
in a way that words can't.
It's like putting together a puzzle
Using pieces from different sources,
to create a more complete picture,
Yeah.
but with so much information available.
it can be overwhelming,
These notes talk about information selection.
retaining only the relevant stuff.
It's like being a gold prospector.
Sifting through tons of dirt to find the gold.
But how do we know what's gold and what's dirt?
These notes highlight 3 key criteria.
Relevance, validity, and accuracy.
Right, relevance connects to your topic.
Validity checks the credibility of the sources.
And accuracy makes sure the information is factual,
It's like being a detective.
making sure the evidence is admissible.
Okay, so once we've gathered our information, how do we organize it all?
Note-taking, that's the key.
These notes seem to offer a whole buffet of techniques,
Cornell notes, charting, mapping, outlining,
each with its own strengths.
and catering to different learning styles
It's like a toolbox.
with different tools for different jobs.
Right, you wouldn't use a hammer to saw wood.
Exactly.
And the notes also emphasize adaptability.
Oh, that's important.
Good note takers are flexible.
They adjust their techniques depending on the situation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of adapting to different situations, there's a note about speed reading.
Speed reading.
Is that a real skill?
It can be helpful,
For quickly scanning a text.
especially when you have a lot to read.
But true comprehension takes time.
It does. You need to slow down and think.
These notes talk about relevant index and info.
So speed reading needs to be combined with good note-taking
It's like having a map and compass.
to navigate a dense forest.
Speed reading gives you an overview.
And note-taking helps you mark the important spots.
That's a great analogy
It brings us back to the main theme,
of being an active learner.
engaging with the material.
It's been quite a journey through these college prep notes.
We've covered so much.
Learning styles, schemas, research methods.
Note-taking techniques, it's all connected.
And it all started with someone's random notes.
It just goes to show knowledge can be found anywhere.
And by exploring these connections...
We can understand how we learn and think.
So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we leave you with this question. How will you apply these insights to your own learning journey?
Will you try different note-taking techniques?
Embrace your learning style.
Become a more critical thinker.
The tools are in your hands.
Use them wisely.
And keep learning.